Greetings, this is MDawg, and we are starting I hate to call this a leveling guide, because I don't actually know what this will evolve into, but it could become long enough and detailed enough to be considered a leveling guide. It's just going to be very non-traditional. So you can see we have SaltyMDawg. We have 3 gold. So that's the first thing to point out. This is no longer a free-to-play leveling guide. Every other leveling guide I've ever done, I think without exception, although I've toyed with the ideas of doing a leveling guide on premium in the past, I think this is the first one that hasn't been a free-to-play leveling guide here on Russian Fishing 4. Right now, with exactly 3 gold added to the account, that makes this a $6 leveling guide. so that's what we've got. And you know, as you might suspect, the reason for that is that we are going to do potentially 3 trips to the Norwegian Sea as a part of the early process of this leveling guide. I'm calling it leveling guide. We'll see. With the first trip being something we do right off the bat, right after we get out of the tutorial. So I guess let me just say I don't recommend this. If you really are a new player, this would be a weird way to approach the game. If you want to, like if you've been following the game and you've seen other people playing the new map, maybe you do want to jump right in and experience that and let that be motivation for leveling up to level 34 or planning when you're going to do these trips. You're allowed 3 trips. I guess to be fair, if you really want to throw some money at the game, you could go ahead and do unlimited access at some point and go even earlier than 34, right? I think that's how this works, the unlimited access option, although that gets a lot more expensive. We are here on the Forest Lake map, which is the tutorial map. It's only the second time I've ever experienced the Forest Lake map. The first time in the last leveling guide, it went really well. It was actually quite fun. I thought a huge improvement from the original tutorial process. But my plan for this series, for as long as it lasts, is to take an immediate Norwegian sea trip. Probably before we do anything else post-tutorial. And then I think if I had to sort of try to pin myself down, I think we might not go to a second one immediately. Maybe after the first trip, we take the silver that we make and we transition that into like, okay, so what would a low level player purchase as some first purchases with this silver? What can we consider? And then at some point planning our second trip to the Norwegian Sea. Now, if I get restless and just want to do it, we might just do it. But I do think there's an argument to be made for waiting on at least 1, if not 2 of your 3 trips till the point that you can do bait harvesting up to the place where you can make fish fillets. I don't know. It's debatable, but it's something to think about. So anyway, let's go ahead and start off. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully if you're brand new to RF4, certainly watch this. Well, I'll try to talk about some beginner ideas as we go, especially when we get back from the first Norwegian Sea map. It's just going to be hard to talk about like beginner tips and tricks when we're on a level 34 map at level 1. Like, it's just going to be so weird. We got rented gear and all that. We'll get into that. But let's go ahead and get through this tutorial. So it wants us to look around with the mouse. We'll do that. WASD, of course, allows us to move around. And now we're going to approach the edge of the lake. Watch the float, wait for bite. How about that auto cast? They don't even want you to have to deal with casting. You want to catch a fish before you've ever casted. So now we just watch the float. Wait for it to sink or move to the side. Push Z to zoom in. We're going to use the left mouse button to hopefully catch this fish once it does sink or move to the side. By the way, float fishing has gotten much better over the years. I actually don't know that I would normally be that patient. But it was good to be patient because according to the screen indication, we actually tried to pull the hook and hit the fish at the right time. I didn't know that, but the notification at the top of the screen did change to like, okay, now it's on, set the hook, basically. Yeah, we got it this time. So hold down left click, don't let the fish get away. Really a decent crucian there they're letting us keep. Remember though, no silver, no XP. Alright, now we're going to cast it. Hold down the left mouse button to cast into that green area. And we're going to wait for a bite on this one as well. It's muddy water, but I think I can actually see the fish. That looks like a roach, right? That's cool. If you cast shallow enough here, you can actually see the fish. That is a roach. Very cool. 282 gram roach. All right, hold down B. I'm sure they want us to change to maggots. Get it right out there again. Maybe we'll be able to see the fish again. So we've got it so shallow that we should be able to see when the fish comes up and starts nibbling. So we just went from worms to maggots. Very basic fishing rod here. Although decent one. I don't think we get to keep this, right? They take this away. It's got more strength than... oh! Fish left. I got distracted. It's got more strength than your typical starter float rod. All right, we got him. It's another nice roach. 200 gram, 400 gram. I love what they've done with the roach model. Looks great. All right, hold down U. They want us to drag this over. Go ahead and set these up. All right, switch to the spinning rod. Cast the marked area. And so it's telling us to hold it. We're going to do max cast here. All right, so they've got it at 16 retrieval speed. Oh, there we go. Fish is on. Fish is hooked. Don't let it get away. So this is using a Trident Horizon. Nice little reel. Again, how amazing would it be if they let you keep this gear? Nice perch. All right, isn't this where they're gonna throw a pike at us? I don't know if it's automatic, but last time, yeah. So they at least give you a little bit of an experience of fighting a fish, although we're just manhandling it this time. I felt like last time it actually went on a little bit of a run. Look how nice the pike model is now as well. Woo! It's looking good. This has been updated since I last did a leveling guide. That is nice. All right, we completed the tutorial. Now they take all our nice gear away. Whoa. I don't remember seeing this. Welcome to Russian Fishing 4. Take your time to explore the diverse water bodies and catch unforgettable fish. Discover new equipment and specialize your character while participating in exciting tournaments. Or just enjoy fishing with friends and share your experiences with the community. Meet you at the water's edge, tight lines. I like that. I like that positive message. I do like the idea that it emphasizes specialize your character. Something to know about RF4, at least for a long time, until you get very high level. There is a sense in which, in a lot of cases, it makes sense to figure out what type of fishing you enjoy doing the most, and at least with your skill points, specialize in that. But we'll see. Oh, they just like dropped us. Did you notice that we weren't on our feet? Like, it's like they dropped us off about 6 inches off the ground. Bloop. Okay. I think we're done with the tutorial. We have 0 out of 300 XP towards level 2. So let's see what all we have here. We've got a float rod and a spinning rod. Main functions of the game by hitting escape. F1, by the way, was showing us all the different controls. I wanted to... I can't tell if it's... Does it still have you buy maggots and stuff, or is it done with all that? Perhaps it's done with all that. So here's the cafe. Here's a tip for new fishermen in RF4. This cafe is your friend. This is how you can make a better amount of silver than just straight up catching fish and then selling them to the fish market. You want to try to challenge yourself to, on at least the orders that are doable, target fish to fill those cafe orders when you can. All right, so let's first thing, if you're looking for a community, there's a lot of great communities out there. One that I will mention is the one that I hang out in. If you do MY space DAWGS, so my dogs, you'll see the channel pop up, and currently there's 460 players. That number will go up and down every time there's a patch or whatever. It kicks everybody out, but we're gonna go ahead and join that community. What else do I want to tell you right here at the beginning? Let's go over what we have in our inventory. So let's start with rods. We have a float rod and a spinning rod. So this is a slightly different one, right? Still pretty nice though. 4 kilo with 3.1. That actually might be what they had us using in the tutorial. It's at least similar. So we have that. We have the spinning rod. This is definitely not the same. This is much weaker than what we were using in the tutorial. I think it was a different float rod. Do we have any extra hooks? Yeah, we've got 2 16s and a 14 to get us started. What lures do they start us with? They start us with a pretty nice collection of lures here, if I'm being honest. All 3 of these are nice early level lures. You could catch some fish, especially at Belaya. Winding as well, which you can go to from level 1, but once you get to Belaya, these are all like reasonable options to get started with. So they do start us with some bait. Just 1 maggot. Okay, that's bizarre. 30 bloodworms, 119 worms. These just seem like weird random numbers. 30 wet bread. We have 1 float and the float that's on our rod, so 2 floats. Some sinkers, some food. Use the bread to make wet bread, so you have the bait bread to use as a bait. You do start us with mosquito map, so we don't have to buy that. And a regular landing net. I just thought of something, gang. I'm pretty sure the map on the Norwegian Sea costs 100 silver. Oh, surely they give you a map if you do a fishing trip. I'm sure they do. I'm almost certain they do. I'm not going to worry about it. All right, so that's all the stuff we have. We also have 50 silver that we are not going to spend yet. I will we can look and see. We've got the grocery store here, which has all your foods and drinks. Some important stuff in there. We've got the hardware store, where eventually we're going to want to buy a shovel and a tea kettle, and then maybe other stuff eventually as well. We'll need this knife, the fillet knife, later on, if we want to be able to make our own fillets out of some of the fish we catch at the Norwegian Sea. The tackle store shows us all the equipment that you can buy in the game, at least that is in stock here at Mosquito. Now, I'm really curious what lures they're going to start us with for the marine lures. If they don't start us with a Lurker 100-007, I'm going to be a little bummed because I absolutely love using this lure over on the 41 meter hole. But, you know, if we don't have it, I'm sure other lures will work. Whatever they start us with will work fine. There's where you can get hot food here, and winding, which is the other level 1 map that we can go to. You can eat for free once every 24 hours in game. We also, across the little bridge here at Mosquito, we have our personal house, which I'm not going to go into right now. But what does it mean open? Oh, you can store stuff in there? Huh. So you can store stuff in there and the tent. But if you do enter there, you can like put some rods and reels on display. You can also mount fish to put on display in your house. Now, here's what I was also wanting to just show is the administration building, where you can, how can you enter the administration building? Oh, to buy the map. I got you. We already have a map here, so we don't need to do that, but you can get spare float tackle and spare spinning tackle from the administration building once per 24 hours. So we'll get spare float tackle as our first thing, and then if we go back to inventory, we'll see that it added a bamboo rod, some old Russian fishing line, a rusty hook, but more importantly, it should have given us more worms, but I don't think it did. Does it give us bread now? Did we already have bread? Gave us a feather float. Have they changed that where it doesn't give you bait anymore? That can't be, because then you could get to a point where you can't make silver and you're stuck with no silver. I'm not sure. Then we also have the workshop. This is where you can repair your rods and reels. Not something you need to worry about for a long time, but just to let you know what some of the buildings in the game actually do. All right. I think I'm ready. Let's just jump into the Norwegian Sea. Like, I'm intentionally not fishing until we go to Norwegian Sea, because part of the fun of this experiment, which some of you have already, I think, tried this on alt accounts. So this may not be as fun with you if you've already experienced it, but for me, I haven't experienced it, haven't seen it, don't know what it's going to be like. I just want to know, what is it like at level 1 to go to the Norwegian Sea, to start the game as a new player in the sense of like not having any experience, and go try to catch some of the new fish. Does it level you up pretty quickly? How much silver can we make? So let's talk about what's going to happen here, because once it happens, there's going to be a timer. What I mean by that is, once we purchase this, which I'm not going to try to be, especially this first trip, I'm not worried about being super efficient or whatever. Like, we're just going to chill and have fun. But this is going to be 5 hours. So the first trip that costs less than a gold, which is just under $2 real USD, US money, you can go for 5 hours at the Norwegian Sea. Now, here's what's important. Every player can take it, doesn't matter what level you are, and you can only do it 3 times for your account, okay? So that's why I'm wanting to see what this is like to take your first trip at level 1. But then our second and third trip, we may spread out a little bit. We'll see how this series goes. Now, part B, it includes everything you need for sea fishing. This is why we can do it at level 1. We don't use our own equipment. A fishing boat for the entire duration of the trip, all 5 hours. Normally, if we bought a 2-hour boat ticket, it would cost us just under 200 silver. We're getting it included. Tackle and lures that we need for sea fishing. So we should have both pilker lures, some small ones, and some soft baits that we can use to jig with. We should have both. And we get, I think it repairs your gear. So if you cause some damage to it, it's almost impossible that you would cause significant damage to it in 5 hours, but whatever, it's going to repair it. I think every cast, it gets it back to 100%. So we should be able to go, and everything's taken care of, and we can just go fish. Now, we have 0 marine skills. I guess let's talk about skills before we actually go, so that I can just, as I'm talking about this, all of these skill points, if you're new to the game, you've got float fishing, spin fishing, bottom fishing, and now, as of this most recent patch and update and new map, we have marine fishing, a new category. We also have harvesting baits, which this is what we need to level up to get to the point where we have the option of doing fish fillet preparation. I thought it was 60%, but because I couldn't see it on my main account, I wasn't sure. So we'd have to get to 60% if we want to be able to actually use fish fillets, which I'll show you when you get to the Norwegian Sea where you would use that. We also have cooking, making ground bait, and making lures. All of these things you level up by doing them. So as we float fish, we'll get skill progress. As we spin fish, skill progress. As we bottom fish, skill progress. And as you'll see in the Norwegian Sea, as we marine fish, we'll get skill progress. Okay, so back to our trip. Once we click on this and start the trip, we have 5 hours, 5 in-game days. So like for this first episode, we may just fish for, I don't know, an hour. I don't know how long we'll fish for this first episode. But however long that is, minus the time that, it takes you to boat out to the spot to start fishing, that's how, we'll break that up. So ultimately, I'm guessing we'll get about 3 hours and 45 minutes of fishing out of a 5-day trip. Maybe 4. Just depends on if we can do a longer session. So like if this first episode, we only fish for about an hour, maybe the next episode we can fish for an hour and a half, and the next fish an hour and a half or close to it. It just cuts down on how many trips we're taking back and forth to shore, because as you'll see, unlike these starter maps, this map is large, very large. Now, here's the thing that before I go to the Norwegian Sea, I want to mention. And I should have said this at the beginning. If you're a veteran player, the only reason why you'd be watching this is if you haven't done this yourself, maybe you want to see what it's like. Well, I hope that you have skipped past all of this talking. I'm talking really more to new players. I just want to sort of talk through these things before we do them. But you can pay for this trip in 2 different ways. You can pay for it in silver or you can pay for it in gold. Silver is the currency you get in game. So free-to-play players earn silver, could spend the silver to go on this trip. However, it is tuned, in my opinion, the cost of the fishing trip. Now, there's a lot of variables on how much silver you're going to make when you get there. But I would not expect to necessarily make any silver if we bought the trip with silver. The only thing you're going to get out of it is the experience, and you're going to get a head start on leveling up your marine skill fishing. Mostly you're getting fun though. But to me, the strategy is if you have a couple dollars laying around and you can spend what is a very cheap price of gold comparatively. I don't remember what the silver to gold ratio is, but that's got to be way cheap, right? Anyway, the gold price, if you can afford a couple dollars to throw at the game, no longer free to play, you will make whatever silver you make on the trip is yours to keep. Whatever experience you gain on the trip is yours to keep. Whatever skill ups you do in marine fishing or any other category is yours to keep. So I'm just making the argument that if you have a couple dollars that you want to throw at it and purchase the trip with gold, it is an interesting way at a low level to make some silver. It's pretty good silver out there, even if you haven't leveled up marine fishing and you only have the basic. You can only fish with a lure, can't fish with a fillet on there or any of the attractants. It's still, I think, a pretty good way to make some early silver. That's the idea. Okay, enough talk. Let's hit the button. Man, I hope that we can... Like, what are we going to do if we don't have a map included? I guess we're just going to go out there and eyeball it and hope for the best. I don't even know. All right, let's go it. Let's do it. So, okay, it doesn't start to count down until we travel. Once we're here, though, once it loads in, our 5 days should be counting down. 4 days, 23 hours left. What? All right, let's go to inventory. All right, the only thing we have is this Saltmaster. We don't have any silver. Okay, we do have a map. We don't have any silver to spend anyway. 50 silver is not going to get us anything. So I'm not going to even worry about anything. The only thing I will do is take a quick screenshot of the cafe orders. And then I'm getting on the boat and we're traveling to the 41 meter hole. All right, so you hit E to get in the boat. Imagine being a level 1 player coming out to the Norwegian Sea and having to figure out like this level of fishing. That's why I'm here for you. We're going to try to figure it out together. All right, I've got this boat maxed. If you hit forward with W and shift at the same time, you throw that boat into high speed. We're going to be traveling all the way down here around D8, D9, C8, C9, this 41 meter hole. Now, let's see what we have in our inventory. All right, first of all, this is the rod and reel they gave us to use. I don't know how much the Azimuth costs. It's a spinning reel. We'll look, maybe the first time we go to the shore or maybe between episodes, I'll check this out. I mean, it's gotta be, you know, I wouldn't even get, I don't even know. It's a ton of silver. So they're letting you rent this equipment that would otherwise cost you a ton. All right, load capacity is 38 kilos. So they got this set up with a 36 kilo leader. Notice the rod is stronger than both the leader and the line. They also start us with the 1 in 2501 Pilker. Just want to make sure we're pretty much heading the right direction here. So I'm hitting V to open up our the information about the rod we're holding. So we can do Pilker rig. Oh, we can't even do marine lure jigging rig. What does that require? I forgot that's not available. Okay, so 25%. We probably we won't get that. We won't get that for a long time. I don't even know that we would get that during our second trip. Maybe during the third trip. Pretty much we're just going to be using Pilker rigs though, is what I'm saying. All right, how many options? Oh, they've given us so many options, but they didn't give us the one I wanted. They didn't give us the one I wanted. This is the one that was on. So we'll start with that. It's funny, all the lures they gave us are about the same size. It's just different color variations, which I think that's cool. I think that's cool. It gives you some options on different colors. So we probably, by the way, I've got my rod and reel out here. If I hold down B, you can select your bait or lure from all the ones that are available that fit on that. These dappers work well. All of these lures work well. Sometimes red is really hot, so we could go like the Dapper 150 or the Bond 125.05. Anyway, I'm comfortable with starting with the 01 at first, and we'll see how we do. We're almost to our first fishing location. Anything else we need to see? Is there anything else they gave us besides this one thing and the lures? No baits, no floats, of course, sinkers, no food. They did let us borrow the map, but that's it. We have that tiny fishing net. We won't even use the fishing net here. You use like a hook to hook the fish here, I think. Anyway, all right, we are here. We're going to go just a little farther, then we're going to hit G to turn off our engine, and we're going to start fishing. All right, I'm good with right here. Now, one thing I would recommend you do is check the weather before coming out here. It's actually pretty hot today. This is not great, but these 5 days, or maybe these 5 days, look really good. Lower temperature, overcast, that's what you want. All right, so we're just gonna cast it out. So notice that we're just casting it right over the side. That's the type of fishing you do here at the Norwegian Sea. You can cast it further out, but mostly it's all about fishing at depth. All right, let's get our retrieval speed. Oh, already got a fish on. First fish, can we hit level 1.5? Depends on if it's a marker or not. What is it like to catch a sea fish at level 1? It's a mackerel. Ooh, guys. So instead of like a small saithe or something, we hit a mackerel that's almost a kilo. We just jumped up to level 4. Yo, I forgot they do gifts now. We got level 2, a Dragon Bill 002. Level 3, a Dragonfly Long 100. 1, I think, a Dragonfly Original 3007 for 4. Yo. All right, we're going to throw that back in. So, actually, I could set a clip here, and then we would know if we got a bite. I'll show you how that works in a minute. We're just letting it sink to the bottom. We may, like last time, get a bite before it gets there. But a lot of times it'll get to the bottom, and then we're going to do what's called pilking or perking. Pilking? I don't know. All right, it's at the bottom. So the line is no longer moving. Because we have this rainbow color line on here, you can actually see how deep the line is. So now we're just going to use the right mouse button, or we can just lift it up with the mouse. Either way, and that's going to create what's known as a perking motion, and you'll see it the bottom left hand side kind of down and to the left from where the rod and reel are. You'll see that you're in the bottom layer, knowing that you've hit the bottom. And, ooh, a spiny dogfish. Not even a marker, and we hit 5. And there is the Dragonfly Stream 2006. All right, so if I hit Control and do plus or minus, that toggles on and off the clip. And if I continue to hit plus, I can increase it. So, like, because we know this is a 41 meter area, although there can be some variation, I'm going to set the clip to 51 meters. And the reason why I do that is you'll now see there's this new, can you see my mouse? You should be able to see it. There's this new symbol here, almost looks like a heart, but it's the clip signal. It just disappeared. That means we have a fish on. Now we're at level 8. We're 3 fish in and we're level 8. This is insane. All right, there's some line, 3.5 load. There is an elegant spin. I'm not even sure if I've seen that lure before. I think I have, but it looks weird so up close. Spin shot 1002. Isn't it interesting that it just gives you lures so much here early on? Wow, this is fun. What a way to start the game. So anyway, here's the clip thing. If it disappears, you know there's a fish on. If it stays, then there's not a fish on. You can set a clip if you're using a spinning reel, if you're using a conventional reel or bait casting reel, which as a level 1 player you wouldn't be. But if you are, you can't set a clip. It's just one of the benefits of using the spinning stuff. All right, now we'll get it perking again. Yeah, we'll see how much silver we make. This might be a terrible idea for a new player. You're going to end up such a high level with not much silver to speak of. But if we do well silver-wise out here, then we will have a lot of, then maybe it's okay. I don't know. I'm mixed feelings about it, but it's fun. It's a fun experiment. And so far, we're catching awfully good fish. All right, there's a cusk. It's not a marker, though. We'll keep it because every 0.1 silver matters. Every 0.1 silver. All right. So far, this lure is working really well, but I do want to try some of the other ones they give us just so that we know what the options look like. All right, so when we get a fish on, we're using our mouse wheel to change our friction brake. Right mouse button pulls the rod up to get the fish ready to come into the, oh, that's a hake. See that hook? Hit spacebar, use the hook to go grab that fish. There's level 9 on that nice European hake. And you'll see we're leveling up marine fishing. We're now at 1%. Oh, that's a nice lure. Hey, bookmark that lure. So you're level 9. That's a good lure to use at Belaya. Everybody in my chat community are going crazy and excited to see how this video turns out. This experiment. All right, I'm going to try to remember next fish to change lure. Before it gets to be overnight. Still overcast. I always think that the fishing is better out here when it's overcast. It is partly sunny now, and it is as hot as I've ever seen it on this map, which is probably not good, but we're catching fish, so I'm not going to complain. All right, we could go Dapper or we could go Bond. I think I will try the Dapper Pilk 150 It's red. Let's see. So we were using the Bond 125.01. We should try the Bond 05 if this one doesn't work good, but I wanted to try a Dapper. Go ahead and try a Dapper out. By the way, we are not, at least for this first trip, we're not going to be putting any points in. No skill points in. I just don't think it makes sense for a new player, low-level player, to put points in marine fishing when you're only going to be doing marine fishing on these 3 trips. It just doesn't make sense. You've got a free reset you can use down the line, so we're just going to fish it with no skill points, at least for now. Much slower bite rate here. We'll give it another minute or two, though. I like that it tells you. So we've got 4 days and 19 hours left. Our trip is going away. It's so sad. Much slower bite rate. This is a little bit larger lure. All right, there's a fish. So we got one, but it was a lot slower. So I definitely think we need to change. Let's change back to the other type we were using, but go with the red of the other type. Let's see what that does for us. Hey, it's our first sculpin. These are very, very typically small and worth very little XP compared to some of what else we've been catching. All right, so we're going to go to the Bond 125.05. This is just like the first one we were using, except that one was the Bond 01. And, you know, we could move around in the 41-meter hole. I guess if it gets slow, cast after cast, we'll just, like, move the boat a little bit. But overall, we pretty much want to stay here and just kind of ride it out. We don't want to waste a lot of time moving around. Fish on. So we're back to getting a fish on the drop. Maybe this Bond is just the way to go for this spot. All right, there's a safe. So if we had the ability to cut up fish, if we had our bait harvesting leveled up, then that safe would be perfect to turn into something. I'm gonna just glance really quick at the cafe order, see if we have any chance of hitting any of these. So probably not, unless we get lucky on place or mackerel. I'd say, how many sculpin do you need? 6? I mean, I doubt it. I doubt that. All right. So notice I am reeling in just to get the slack out of the line before we start trying to get our perking. Well, I waited too long. We lost the perking. There we go. This is a nice fish. This is not a sculpin. Can confirm. Should be a marker. It's hard to imagine in this spot with this small lure that we would catch something this size that wouldn't be a marker. And I will show you what I mean by marker in case you are new to the game. Someone in chat asked, are you going to completely level by sea fishing? Obviously, with only being able to do 3 trips. Oh yeah, there's another cusk, except this one's a marker cusk. You can't fully level just by doing sea fishing. All right, there's level 10. There's 1200 XP. We're at 1.8 marine. We'll definitely keep that. We got level 10, so we got a nice Vico. Another nice lure, by the way. That's a nice spoon. So we are at 6, 7, 8, 9 fish, and we just hit level 10. Whew. Man, this is speedy leveling. It's also going to be making silver at a pretty aggressive pace, although not too crazy. And that's where I think, even though the silver will be nice here, you're still going to be leveling so fast that you probably are overall having less silver per level. I could be wrong. Maybe it depends on cafe order luck and that kind of stuff, but if you think about how many cafe orders you fill typically on Mosquito and Winding when in these early levels, and then as you settle in, the game starts to get pretty grindy. You're hitting all those cafe orders, and eventually you're fishing for bream. I mean, that silver adds up pretty quick. So we're gonna have a decent amount of silver from, you know, this first 5-hour trip. I'm hoping we'll make around 1,000, but we'll see. I mean, it's again some RNG there. But we're also going to be pretty high level. So I don't know that silver's that crazy. It's just the time. How fast you're leveling out here and how quickly you're getting that silver is what's different. Look at that nice safe. So personal records, strongest fish, biggest fish, over 2,000 XP. And we are now to 2% in marine fishing. Remember I told you at 25% we open up a new rig type. So we're only 2% out of 25. I don't know that we're gonna, I don't know that we'll even open that up in 3 trips. Maybe if you've already done your 3 trips on your account, what percentage did you end up being at marine skill at the end of that? That's kind of the question, right? So far, I've liked this red lure quite a bit. This bond has been working good, despite how hot it is and the only partly cloudy weather. We want to keep that strong perking or regular perking going, and we want to keep it in the movement in the bottom layer. So we're letting it sink all the way to the bottom, then we start the perking. So somebody in chat asked, that's a nice pollock, by the way. Somebody in chat just asked, does skill percent matter for chances of bigger fish? And several people in chat said no. That's incorrect. One of the most important factors in your ability to catch overall, like average, better chance of better fish is the percentage of what fishing, you know, the fishing type you're using. So this is sort of, you know, this is definitely not like beginner talk here, but eventually, you know, you start putting things like points in loop rig, because this skill point says that, well, it doesn't say it on that because we haven't unlocked it. The technique of fishing with a simple bottom rig improves. The higher the technique, the greater the chance of catching the trophy. So clearly putting points in this type of rig, whichever rig you decide to emphasize, does increase the quality of fish. But the developers have said in the FAQ, unless they've corrected themselves, unless I've missed something, that what increases your chance of catching on average higher quality of fish more than anything else is the percentage that you have leveled up in that fishing skill overall. So whether it's bottom fishing, marine fishing, float fishing, spin fishing. I've noticed in chat there's a lot of questions that are asked and then answers given, and the people giving the answers seem so confident, and a lot of times somebody will agree with the answer and the answers are just wrong. Or the other thing is the answers are opinions. Like the other day I saw in chat, and if you were involved in this, I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm not trying to pick on you with either things. I mean, this game is so complicated. Of course people get confused and there's a lot of misinformation. I would always just encourage you to say, like, this has been my experience or this is my understanding. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we act like we know that are just theories and may not be completely true. But the other day somebody asked in chat, like, should I put points in feeder rod? Should I continue to level it up, or should I just go ahead and put points in carp rods? Well, that's, I mean, neither one of those options are wrong. Like, that either way could be good. I mean, some of that just depends on your personal choice, preference. Are you going to be doing more carp fishing, or are you going to be doing more bottom fishing for everything other than carp? But someone's answer was, no, you don't need more points in feeder rods because, and I don't remember if they said like late game or mid game, you're going to end up using picker rods. Instead of feeder rods, you'll use picker rods. And the way they said it would have led this relatively new player to believe that it's just common practice. You don't use feeder rods, you use picker rods at some point. That's, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. You can do that if you want, but picker rods are very specialized. That is not the common experience, I would say, that people stop using feeder rods and suddenly are using picker rods when they get to mid-game. That might be the way you do it, and that's great if that's the way you've decided to do it and that works for you. But to act like that's just sort of an accepted strategy. Anyway, all that rambling is to say, whether it's something you hear me say or something you read in a community chat or hear another streamer say or whatever, read on, Instagram, like, take it with a grain of salt. That may just be that person's experience. They may just really like using picker rods and they want the rest of the world to use picker rods because that makes them feel better about them using picker rods. I don't know, but whatever the case is, take it with a grain of salt. Get variety of information, and most importantly, go to the RF4 website and RF4 Discord. There are some staff guides and official FAQs, and if you see something on there, not that I'm saying it's like infallible, there's sometimes, like, since a lot of the developers don't speak English as their primary language, sometimes there could be some translation issues and maybe a detail here or there has gotten a little bit confused. There's level 11. By the way, whoa. We just got a full set of gear. What is this? Is this like stuff we could use at Belaya? Man, things have changed in this game. Anyway, take it with a grain of salt. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox. We just got this. Oh, it's tiny. But it does give you a bonus to experience. The test is small, so you can be able to cast it. This actually be a blast to use at Belaya. Are you going to be able to get everything in? No. But man, it would be a blast. I had no idea they were going to give that to us. If I did know, I've forgotten. That's really cool. F turns on the flashlight. Another nice pollock. I hate to say it, but even with just this very simplistic approach to fishing out here, I feel like we're doing pretty well. I feel like we're doing actually pretty well. All right, it's getting to be nighttime. What color should we change to when it's nighttime? What color lure? Sometimes it feels like nighttime you want to go dark so that it doesn't but out here in the sea, I'm not sure if that holds as true. Sometimes it feels like the really light ones do better at night. I'll tell you a lure we haven't used that I know on my main account has been sick, like really good, is the 125.06. So we might actually try that one. I don't know about at night, but just in general, we need to remember to give that lure a shot. Just as a reminder, we are at the 41-meter hole. If you are new to the game and deciding to take your first trip out to the Norwegian Sea, the date today is May 2nd, 2023. This could certainly change as time moves forward. But right now, a really good place to fish out here with basic stuff is this 41-meter hole. Highly recommend it. Because early on, you're really just wanting to get a fast bite rate. There are some huge fish in this sea that you have no business trying to catch with this rental gear that they've given you. So you want to try to find the places with these small lures that you can fish that are easy to fish, quick bite rate, and more of a chance you're going to be able to get that fish in. Might be time of day. Sometimes the bite rate does slow down at night out here. I don't think it ever completely dies though. So it may just be a good idea to switch lures here. Trying to keep the perking going just by like moving the rod manually. You'll also notice that as I'm perking up, it's bringing it out of the bottom layer, and then it's sinking back into the bottom layer. So that means we've got it a little bit higher in the ground, in the water, a little bit higher elevation there. So it's going in and out of the bottom layer. This works fine. My preference would be to keep it in the bottom layer the whole time, but it works fine to move it in and out like that. By the way, there are some times that you don't want to fish at the bottom. But with this, what lure were you using? Yeah, they've already given it to us back, right? Wasn't it the 05? All right, let's switch to the 06. So I got to be honest, I don't even remember which fish bites off by teeth. Let me ask chat. Maybe somebody can tell me. The frustrating thing is we almost had that fish up, like it was right at the top. But it used its teeth and it cut through our line, so it's either a shark, one of the shark species, or something like that. Anyway, it's gone. But the cool thing is, because it's rental gear, it just gave everything right back to us. So Shock Sir is saying it's a shark, so one of the shark species. So it could have been a spiny dogfish. We've already caught 2 spiny dogfish here. Certainly could have been one of those. Shark sculpin. They say sculpin can as well. Spiny dogfish or wolffish. Well, it could have been any of those, I suppose. Probably not wolffish. I feel like wolffish aren't as common in this spot. Maybe still possible though. But any of the other ones, definitely possible here. So if you don't have your clip on to see when a fish gets on, the other way to do it, and you probably see me doing it by habit, is if you hit R or even hold R down, if you then scroll your mouse wheel, that's actually how you change the retrieval speed. Which if you're not sure on any controls, just hit F1 to bring up the control list. But that's how you bring up your retrieval speed. If you have a fish on and you hit R, you don't see your retrieval speed at all. It actually gives you this red block window and makes a little sound. So next time we catch a fish, I'll show you what I mean. So you see that down there? That's showing that we have a fish and we can't change our reel speed anymore. So that's why if you're watching people play this game, a lot of times they'll hit that R button a good bit just to see if a fish has gotten on. That has come into play even more so on this map because of how often the fish will come on while the lure and the setup is dropping. Another nice safe. So you heard me mention being able to use fillets. If our bait harvesting was up to 60%, we could turn some of these saithe and mackerel into fillet and throw them on there. That would increase our bite rate. You also, when you get leveled up enough, you can put attractants, different things on your line down close to the lure and then just on the line in general that will also help increase the bite rate. And then eventually, when you level up enough, you can put an auxiliary hook here, which helps you keep the fish on the line better. You have less random fish getting away messages. So there's a lot you can do, and that's just with this one rig type. There's also several different rig types and different rod types, which allow different rig types that you can use on this map in the saltwater fishing. All right, I think I want to get off this yellow lure for the rest of the overnight. It's working fine, but if there's a time to experiment with like some other things, it might be now. And maybe we get this 06 back on there first thing in the morning. And there's another dogfish. Again, easily could have cut off our line. So let's try, let's actually try the Dapper 07. I remember when I first, the 03 is good too. I remember when I first came out here, using this Dapper and catching some decent fish on there. So since it's nighttime, we'll try a really bright lure. And then maybe we'll try to see if there's one that's a darker lure. I don't know out here which one's going to be better. Now this is back in the Dapper line, so it's a little bigger lure. Last time we did this, we got a slower bite rate. And the thing is about this spot, you know, sometimes on my main account at least, I don't mind having a little slower bite rate sometimes if there's a chance I'll catch a better fish. But I would say in this spot with sort of this size lures and everything we're using, we're still probably gonna catch not the best fish. It's just a matter of how long it takes to find it. I'm actually having a harder time getting the pilking consistently as well. There's perking. That was a problem. I was trying to do pilking and all we needed was perking. Alright, let's give it a minute here and see if we can actually get a bite with this. If not, we'll switch it. There's some fluorescent equipment you can use, especially if you're fishing at depth, or I would presume if it's dark like this, that might be interesting options for once you're higher level and actually here on your own, not as on a fishing trip. All right, I think this is, for this spot, I think this is too long to not have a bite. Let's switch it up. It's gonna be slower overnight anyway, but that seemed way too slow. For performance issues, turning close shadows to simple and grass to simple, I think that helps, especially on this map. There was something I was going to look at though, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh well. All right, so what would be darker? Maybe like this one? This one actually looks kind of fluorescent though. It's a Dapper one. Let's try that. Again, we'll just give it a couple minutes and then we'll switch back to the bonds that we know work good out here. We don't really have any like really dark lures. Maybe we don't want dark out here in the sea. All right, so we've got perking going. So we're at about half an hour right now of actually fishing. Overnight has definitely slowed us down. At least in this spot with this setup, I think the bond lures are just working way better than these Dappers. But also remember overnight. Although typically it's not this slow. All right, let's go back to a bond. We'll get away from the dappers. Let's try the 08. It's kind of dark. It kind of looks dark. It's also just a little smaller and it's a bond lure. Maybe it'll work better. And then we'll switch back to the 06 once the sun is fully up. Maybe about 4 or 5 a.m. I want to give that 06 a little bit of a shot. I know that I definitely thought the 01 worked well, and the red one, the 5, worked really well. But it's probably a lot of them that, frankly, would work just as good right now among these bonds. If we don't get a bite here, it'll kind of make me feel a little better because in my mind, I'm sort of blaming it on the dapper, but I don't know that that's what the problem is. It might have just been overnight, and we just don't have the tools because we haven't leveled up our marine fishing, maybe to increase our bite rate at night. Oh, I remember what I was going to look at. General. Is there something that changes the temperature? I don't think there is. Okay. I'm just amazed at how hot it is. It says it's 17.5. Oh, there we go. It says it's 17.5 degrees. And if that's Celsius, and it's gotta be, I've never seen it that hot here. Sun's coming up early in the Norwegian Sea. Yeah, we'll see next trip. So after this first 5-hour trip is up, and then whenever we decide to do the next trip, maybe we'll get that blue lure that I was telling you about before we left from Mosquito. I just really like it a lot in this spot. So if it's still working well on my main, maybe we'll grab that. It's just expensive. At this level, to spend 100 silver on a lure that we're not going to be able to use once we can no longer come to these maps, it's a lot of silver. So we'll see. So when we end this episode here shortly, we will head back to town really quick. Like, I'll relog. We'll, double check cafe. I don't think we'll have anything for cafe. We'll sell our fish to see how much we made in this first session, but we'll try not to waste time too much because our time continues to run. So next time I record an episode, we'll first have to drive back out to the spot. So that's all that time you're losing fishing. By the way, it's the temperature might be bugged. It's saying it's still 17.5. Don't you think that's bugged out? That's not the actual temperature of the map. Something's just like not correct with that. That's what I've decided. There's just no way. Next time we record an episode, I bet it'll be different. There's no way it's 17.5 degrees Celsius out here. And it's also not moved at all, right? Like, the temperature hasn't changed. That's not the way it works. It's a nice safe, isn't it? Yeah. Strongest fish caught. We're up to 4%. So we're doing well. All right, let's give the 06, the Bond 06, another try here. One more decent fish, and we'll hit level 12, which is fun. So it's almost 5 a.m. I think we should be getting pretty close to like really nice bite rate again, but that's a nice fish. I like the way that bite, you can just feel it on the line. Hopefully it's not something that's going to bite the line off. It's just a cusk. We'll take it. Not a ton of XP for the size, but they add up on silver, frankly. Not a bad fish to catch for silver, but that's true of a lot of them. A lot of these are going to be worth good silver. The sculpin, not so much, but pretty much anything else. I mean, it all just adds up out here. Nice quick bite. Post 5 a.m. Have we drifted much? Maybe a little bit, but not too much. Cusk. We are so close to level 12. I cannot believe we're going to hit level 12 in our first episode. That's just amazing. So we're down to 4 days and 6 hours. So we haven't actually used our first hour yet. I was looking at how long this episode has gone, but I got to remember we spent the first like 20-25 minutes or so at least before even starting this fishing trip. So I'm hitting the right mouse button to do the perking, or you can hit shift right mouse button and it actually does that same motion but a little more aggressively. So sometimes if you're trying to get the strong perking, you can get it with just regular right mouse button, but it makes it a little easier to get with shift right. So that was just a fake bite. The fish actually didn't get away. It just never was on there securely. Yeah, we should switch spots, honestly. I'll switch lures again as well. We'll go back to the 5, I think. But let's switch spots. We may just need to mix it up a little bit. I don't mean fully switch spots. I just moved to do a different part of this 41 meter hole. I didn't mention this, but we're not putting an anchor down out here. You will have the option of using anchors in any of the maps before this one where you can be in a boat, but here it's all about the drifting. Actually, part of the movement in the bottom layer and the perking and everything is affected by this drifting with the current and the tide. And So you're not really anchoring down at all. You don't have the option to do so. You're just drifting around out here and hooking into fish. I cannot believe we haven't had a bite in this amount of time. With this lure on, that is insane. All right, we're going to switch to... I at least want to hit level 12 before we wrap up this first episode. We're going to switch to the Bond 05. And, all right, which way do we want to go? Let's go southwest a little bit. Not far, but just kind of get in a different spot. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop it now. Far enough. And we're going to go right up here on the front of the boat this time. Cast this direction. Kind of waiting on the boat to slow down, stop moving a little bit, or at least as fast. And I don't know why I cast it so far out that time. Just set my personal record for longest cast. All right, let's see if we can get a little quicker bite. There we go. Decent fish as well. Safe. There is level 12. So no more gifts? Do the gifts stop? I guess they do. That last gift, the arrow, the light spinning rod, was the last gift, huh? Another safe. So this is what we would do if we had this ability unlocked to turn that into fillets. And then we'd throw the fillets on our line and help our bite rate a little bit. Another small fry. So hake though, that's not bad. And we're almost to 5%. All right, let's try the 10. Let's try the 10. We'll go ahead and wrap this one up pretty quickly here. Very soon. See how we did. It's not going to be the best silver ever, but you know, probably like 300. It sneaks up on you. It's a lot more silver than you're expecting, especially if you get just one cafe order. You know, that a lot of times cafe orders here are at least 70 to 100 silver, even the easy ones. I guess that's the question. Do we ever buy that lure while we're here? I don't think so. I want to see the full amount we make on silver without spending any. And if we buy something, presumably that doesn't get replaced if a fish cuts it off with their teeth. So probably makes sense to just use what they gave us, at least this first time. But I don't think there's a scenario where you make enough silver on these 3 fishing trips to actually purchase something strong enough to start fishing here. So even if you spent all the money, not only on the 3 fishing trips here, but even if you spent the money to unlock the map, you're still going to be limping along trying to figure out ways to make silver to save up for the equipment that's actually strong enough to fish here. I am shocked at how long it's taken us to get a bite, but we did switch to a lure that I'm not as familiar with. This lure might just not be quite as magical with these fish. Partly cloudy. No idea what the temperature is because it's bugged out. All right, let's switch lures one more time. See if we can get a last fish. Let's go back to the 01, the one that it started us on. The Bond 125.01. I also like the 02 and 3, but I want to make sure we actually get a last fish here. Maybe we'll get at least a mark or something. So when I say marker, it means it has this green check mark on it. That means it's going to sell for some amount of silver. The ones that don't have the marker sell for almost nothing. We're keeping them because every little silver matters. And when you're at low-level maps like Mosquito and Winding, sometimes the non-marker fish can qualify for cafe orders. So until you get really familiar with what does and doesn't qualify for cafe orders, it's worth keeping all your fish. But if I was on my main account, like, I just wouldn't be keeping some of these fish. Perfect timing. All right, let me reel this in, and I'm gonna spawn back to the town so we don't waste time. Oh, another dogfish. That's great. So we don't waste time traveling. All right, I'll be right back while it's loading. All right. So, here we go. Really quick, let's just double check the cafe. Almost certain we didn't get anything because we didn't go on a sculpin run. We didn't go on a place run. The hake we caught, the largest one, wasn't that big. So none of these cafe orders. So this is going to be a true measurement of the fish market. Yeah, 313 silver. Not a bad first day. I'm just going to go ahead and sell it all. So 363 silver is our total amount, but we are level 12. Again, it's just speeding up the process. Silver to level ratio. I'm not sure that it's much better. I don't know. We'll see how it looks moving forward. But we're also not spending any silver this whole time. So, all right. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time for the continuation of this first 5-day trip to the Norwegian Sea. Thanks so much for watching. Tight lines.